morning, everybody. Thank you, Laura, for your presentation. Very instructive. And I think it was a good, I would say, a very detailed introduction to what I'm going to introduce to you on a more specific matter. I would say the subject of this discussion today will be around implementing labor local contents rules. And the point of view of this presentation will be mostly looking at the point of view of the foreign investors setting up businesses in Myanmar, like your employer, being the country for many years, but still coming up into this country with a foreign business culture. How does this work, brother? Okay, next slide. Here, what the table of contents. So we're going to have a very short presentation on our of about Vinarco International. We will continue with what's the meaning as a professional, the meaning of labor local content. What are the current legal prescription in Myanmar? We'll continue also with the possible challenges affecting your strategy. And I say possible because each of you in your business environment face different challenge. What is a challenge for me may not be a challenge for you. So I will talk about possible challenge. And then a practical study, my background for several years, the oil and gas sector in Myanmar. And few recommendations, really what, this last slide I wrote it about 2 a.m. last night, so I don't think it'll be very interesting for you. Your stuff is not working, my friend. You're going to fix this. All right, so, all right, working. So here is what we do, Vinarco. Vinarco has been in Myanmar for several years, but in Asia for actually 25 years. Next year we're going to celebrate our 25th anniversary. Vinarco International, what do? We are operating in 3 main sectors: oil and gas, power, and ICT and telecoms. As you will notice, those 3 sectors for the last few years in Myanmar have been very hot. Very subject to large FDI, foreign direct investments. Therefore, what happened? When a country, an emerging country like Myanmar, see a lot of foreign investments, they have to set up rules. And among those rules, you have the labor content requirements. So 3 sectors. What we do provide, we have a technical core skills service type, business model, and obviously within this core skills services, we provide also HR integrated solutions. So I'll let you read. We operate over the 3 sectors on turnkey services, from operations and maintenance, commissioning, fabrication, whatever is very technical services under project management turnkey services. Oh, not Turkey, sorry. Turkey is not that today. Manpower contracting and technical services. The recruitment HR solutions are a part of our business model, but not our business model. So don't look at us as a recruiter. We're not recruiters. We provide the manpower contracting services. We are contractors. But as we provide services, the component of HR is quite important. Okay? So, as I was mentioning, we have a very strong footprint in Southeast Asia. That means what we face today in Myanmar, in terms of human development, skilled workforce development, we faced it in Cambodia, we faced it in Laos, in Bangladesh, in Pakistan. All those countries face the same challenge a bit before Myanmar, but the same. Unskilled workforce with foreign investors needing a highly trained, skilled workforce, and the skill gap that you mentioned earlier. My experience, and I want to share it with you, is based on nearly 15 years experience, mostly between Southeast Asia and Middle East. I've been working in manpower contracting business between Thailand and Southeast Asia and Middle East, UAE, GCC, Saudi Arabia. Very attractive countries. You will love it. Eastern Seaboard, Al-Khobar, beautiful. And working with three of the, I would say not the major, but most of the well-known contracting companies in this sector. IOTA from Switzerland, Organized Solutions, mostly from Southeast Asia and Africa, and now Vinarco. Actually, when I was working at IOTA, I was competitor of those two companies. So I quite know very well those companies from my point of view today. So what is the meaning of local labor content in our perspective here in Myanmar? You need to know a global definition. So let's look at the World Bank definition. It mostly concerns developing countries rich in natural resources, such as oil and gas, mining, resources. We could put also rich in manpower, all right? Skilled or unskilled labor. To achieve sustained and inclusive growth by increasing domestic content. Domestic content with local content is the same. For economic diversification. So when you look at this point of view, general definition, it's really focusing on what the purpose of local content is to develop the inner resources of the country. And we'll see later the human development. Local content policies, as per the World Bank definition, they call that SLCPs, all right? Intend to achieve opportunities for regional and international integration. So Myanmar, by developing their own resources, it helps, when I say labor resources, it helps the country to integrate the regional organizations such as ASEAN, opening up to welcome more investments, but also international, or for trans-border business, or opening up the countries to more exposure. And generate trade and reduce country dependence to external aid. So that's the summarized general definition from the World Bank. What are the drivers then for the governments? You know, we all professionals of human resource. Either you are a HR manager or a recruitment company or a project contractor. Human resource is the main driver for you as a professional. What the government says about that? First, they want to protect the national interest. All of these rules, actually, all those drivers will affect your business on a day-to-day basis. You could be a SME, a small company, or you can be a major international group, corporation investing in Myanmar, either setting up a new business or doing a merger or acquisition. You will have to face those rules. Enact and enforce law promoting human development. Look at it as something more or less positive from the point of view of the legislator, of the law here. They want to develop, and everybody wants, as a foreigner developing or setting up a business in Myanmar, to use local resources. Be open and transparent. Ensure prosperity of the people. Economic growth. Maximize and optimize the benefits of the resource endowment. Also developing local social protection, environmental and economical interest. What is the current legal prescriptions in Myanmar in terms of labor local content? How it will show in your day-to-day management as a professional? First of all, look at the current legislation. You have the MIC DICA, from the source from DICA. You have the Myanmar Commercial Act and the new MIA 2016. Some of the information can be picked up from the DICA Investment Guide 2014. So the main point, when you're a professional investing in Myanmar, setting up your business, is to prioritize Myanmar and its growth and development from all aspects. You will see later how it translates into a practical case study. Obviously, when you hire locals, you need to follow the rules. Labor, social, revenue. When I say revenue, is tax. ensure equal voice for local workers and avoid salary or treatment bias. Provide equivalent rights and benefits. Foreign employers, which is important from our point of view today, must employ Myanmar citizens for 100% of the unskilled labor. You will not bring in Burma, in Myanmar, Cambodians to do the work of unskilled labor in Myanmar. It can be done very easily by local resources. Under the current investment promotion laws, former FIA, now MIL, or special economic zones, you will be able to employ foreign experts. Promoting labor local content does not mean that you're not allowed to hire foreigner experts or technical experts, but you need to follow a special set of rules. We'll not come into the details. It's easily found in the DICA rules, but you need special permits and applications. So, as a professional myself working in Myanmar and other Southeast Asian countries, you will have different approach to international acceptance, I would say, of foreign employment in Myanmar or emerging countries. Myanmar is not the most restrictive countries amongst Asian countries in terms of foreign employment here, as opposed to local labor force. You will have rules, and it's changing, but when the country opened up in 2011 and further on, we as professionals of contracting business for manpower, our clients based here in oil and gas, for example, needed highly expert people for a short period of time. You cannot find 100% of your needs for those skills within the local force. Even with training people, first of all, you won't be able to achieve the skills required within the time frame required, and you won't have the volume enough. So, especially for critical industry like oil and gas, special, I would say, tolerance was made. So you could have, under specific immigration rules, tax rules, social security rules, you could have a lot of foreigners working here on rotation basis, a few months on, a few months off, or on a permanent residence stage. Compared to Indonesia, for example, which is very difficult to hire expatriates, or in other countries, for example, Yemen, you have to prove that you posted the openings on the net, on the newspaper for several weeks, that you have actually interviewed a minimum number of nationals before going into hiring an expatriates. You don't have those things here. So it's a key of success of the country to open up to foreign investment. No. In Myanmar, you have a legal framework, more than 25 sets of rules, laws related to the employment. I will not detail them for you today. Easy to find also. You all know lawyers, just ask them. But I tell you, this is very heavy and, as you say, changing. Also, you have guidances. How this legal framework is set in Myanmar about local labor force and how to promote it. There's also the international organizations, the ILO, the UN, they come, investigate, issue special report statements. We all have to, as employer here, either national or international employer, we have to respect the rules, follow the instructions, but also it's the philosophy we put behind that. When we come in a country like Myanmar, as a foreign investor, you need to put yourself in a position of promoting the local resources as much as you can. Not coming like in few generations in the past, like in Africa, where the main interest of foreign investors was to produce from the natural resources, gain benefit of it, and not share with the local population. Here we have to forget that. That's the past. We are, as foreign investors, beneficiating from the local resources. We need to share with the local people. That means respecting the local content labor rules, local taxation, and develop the people, the skills, to make from the unskilled workforce to make it a skilled workforce beneficial to every industry in the country. How this local content mandatory requirements, how it can affect your operation. And here again, as a local business, you might not feel it. Laura talked about the HR processes, management. This is very clear, very understandable. But as a business, as an international business, you're setting up your organization here, and how it may affect you. Me, I want to have a project. See, I'm here only for 2 or 3 years. Infrastructure project. I have a local partner for a joint venture, but my time frame to deliver my project is very short. I'm not here for 20 years. I'm here for 3 years. Maybe I can gain over business, maybe not. How it may affect you. So in the HR management cycle, it will affect you on a day-to-day basis. For example, the workforce planning. I have a project. Do I have sufficient resources locally? What will be my budget? What is the time frame I can hire? What tools I have? You mentioned about millennials, but me, I need experienced engineer. I don't need 20 years plus guys. It might be a part of my workforce, but not all. I need engineers. I would tell you an example. I don't know if you're familiar with the oil and gas, but do you know Technip Engineering? Technip. Now it's called Technip FMC. It's an French engineering company, very successful, working in oil and gas, downstream, upstream, designing platforms or petrochemical complex. So they were planning, they were very successful, and they're still successful despite the downturn in the oil and gas in Thailand. In Thailand, they went from 350 people, Thai nationals, to 750 in a few years because of the booming business. They said, well, we're going to develop the same business model in Myanmar. Their client, very well-known operator, Total, right? They said, okay, we have a new project upcoming to develop current offshore assets, which is extension of Yadana. It's called Badamia project, offshore platforms, wellhead platforms, etc. And Technip said, okay, local content, how do I do that? Well, I will come set up an office here. I have a time frame to prepare. Well, we have a bid. If we bid and win this project, then we have a few months to be ready. So I will come here, recruit as much as I can of local engineers, and do what you mentioned on site training. We call that OJT, on-job training. What problem they face? First, not enough on the market, not enough available engineers, not enough qualified. Those qualified were working already for other engineering firms. So themselves applying retention, unable to actually take them on board. For those able to come and join Technip, how to train them? They have to send them to Thailand. It's a center of excellence. Train them, then ask them to come back. The whole process took 2 years. Unfortunately, the commercial success was not there for Technip. They didn't win that contract. They found themselves with several, or nearly 40 engineers, mechanical, electrical, process engineer, highly qualified on the discipline point of view. They didn't win the business. But even the conclusion of that, even they won that deal, they would have to rely on outsourcing, on other, because the skill gap is too big as of today to rely on 100% on the local workforce. Training and development, I mentioned about it. Well, it's actually a part of, I would say, what are the available standards here? Not on what is the offer of training, but what are the needs of training and how it could be useful here on the labor market here for the current companies in needs of hiring local labor companies. Compensation and talent retention is part of the career management, reward management, and performance management. All those challenges, actually, on a day-to-day basis, you face it. Right? Either you're a small or medium-sized company or a big international firm or group in engineering, in construction, you need to look at we'll see that in my recommendations. You need to look at those main points, the workforce planning, before you even start thinking of winning a business or dealing a contract here. Your compensation plan. What are the sector wages versus your budget? Talent retention. Is it really effective? Skills development. Is it really useful? And what are the standards available? And employee loyalty. Here you mentioned about job hopping or the uplift on the expected salary can allow a lot of people moving. I faced that a lot since I started to work in Myanmar in 2012. Actually, it's not 20%. We faced people leaving us for $50 plus per month to another position. And talent retention here, they don't care. What they want is this. Okay? The reward, they don't care. My reward is my salary. Right? It is starting to change. You will see few statistics from the ADB. You will see few standards now changing, especially in urban areas where you can adjust your recruitment policy. So here, what is available for local labor content? What are the available in the resource planning, the workforce planning? What are you having here on the market? The main structure of education. Obviously, look at Myanmar here. The source is OECD. It's 2013, but the trends remain the same. Here in Myanmar, compared to other Asian countries, I would say Korea or Japan. Here you have, as of 2013, a lot of engineering, science engineering. I'm talking from my point of view, as a professional in energy services. Those are there, 41%. But they're not ready yet. They're not mature enough. But the rest, humanities, well, that's soft skills. Blue is core skills, yellow is soft skills. Me, I need a lot of experienced core skills people. Available but not mature yet. What is ready, more ready today is the soft skill people, 52%. So HR, accounting, marketing, all those type of profession. Now, you look at this table, ADB source. At the top here is the bachelor or higher degree in Myanmar. As of 2013 as well. For 2009, 2010, it was a survey done 6-7 years ago. It has probably changed a little bit here, but the trend is important. You see, 25 on that survey date, 25 years of age, that was the educational level. You see, the primary school was, and it's upward trends, was the larger group of people available on the market. 25, you work. Your education background is that. Another 14% is middle school. And the higher you get, the thinner you get the trend. So what does it give as a available local labor for you is it's unskilled people. And it's 100% in your case if you're a foreign investor. When you want skilled people, then you face the problem I was telling you about technique. It's a killing. You have no choice. Either you wait another 10 years, the people to be experienced and qualified enough, and you say, I come back in 10 years in Myanmar, but I lose business opportunities. I'm done. Or you just follow the trend and try to adapt your requirement of local labor content. Other statistics are interesting. Training. Why? What do we see here? ADB again. I still have time, okay? Okay. Training. What can we see out of that one? It's very interesting. What are the main characteristics is people aged between 15 to 64 having participated to a training, any kind of training, let's say. What we notice, it's mostly females, from wealthy environment, I would say as per the Myanmar standard, urban area. Basically it's Laura in Yangon. That's it. That's the typical characteristic coming from that statistic. But we want to see more of that. We want to see more mail from province. Personally, we have an ongoing contract here for telecom business. We have to recruit people in Naypyidaw, in Mandalay, in Myint. Well, it's difficult to find. Some sectors we can, other sectors we can't. And we have it is mandatory for us in this case, even if it's skilled labor force, I still have to be on 100% local content. Burmese. I have only one expatriate on that contract, and he's a regional expat from Vietnam. What do we see here? Wages, very important. We hear the main characteristic of the labor market here in Myanmar is low education, low wages, and highly educated people qualified is very marginal. So you cannot base your business plan on investing and developing your business here on standards you may face in even Thailand, which is a neighboring country, but 25 years advanced in terms of skilled workforce. Or Laos and Cambodia, as of today, they are more advanced on the edge than Myanmar in terms of skilled workforce. Very low wage, all right? The legal minimum, that's dollars here. Myanmar is the lowest, and it's Yangon. Factory worker, Myanmar is the lowest with Dhaka. In this case, the non-manufacturing area, Myanmar is always at the lowest. So it's a driver for you as an investor. Yeah, low wage, but very low skills, low educational background. So first you need time and a lot of money to train, and vocational and practical training. Now, practical study, case study, oil and gas. It's strategy industry. It's very highly strategic for Myanmar. Why? It's the first source of FDIs for Myanmar. As of DICA source today, the statistics of August this year, more than 30% is dedicated to oil and gas. So when you see that statistic, you understand that it might be one of the most demanding industry in terms of local labor content. What are the framework, the rules, the prescription for this, specifically this industry? In 2013, it was one of the largest bidding rounds, awarding concessions, blocks actually, under PSCs, production sharing contract, like the system here in Myanmar, as opposed to system in Thailand where it's a concessional system. You need to employ Burmese. In some cases, you will need to employ at some position Burmese national, selected and vetted by MOGI. MOGI being an emanation of the Ministry of Energy, is a Myanmar oil and gas enterprise, being partner of all the PSCs. You will have also mandatory budget in your PSC to train local nationals from unskilled to skilled and skilled to higher skilled people. It's a budget. It's a minimum. It doesn't mean you have to be at 50. Preferably you would be higher than 50 is better. It's better for you as an investor because local labor content is mandatory. You don't want to postpone that. You could postpone before. There was some tolerance from the MOGI. Now it's not. Example, PTTEP. Everybody knows PTTEP in Thailand. Top operator in Thailand, not the NOC, but government main shareholder in Thailand. In Thailand for 20 plus years. Their biggest asset is Zautica. I was involved in 2013 on a 3-year contract with my former employer for providing operations and maintenance. Unable to provide, and we were coming at the bottom of the deal. The assets manager was unable to find operators for operations and maintenance offshore from the local market, either not there or working for other partner, because block operators, they are partner with other companies such as Petronas, Total. You couldn't poach them. So they have to import workforce from Thailand. We were assigned to provide 41 operators from Thailand on a rotational basis to work on offshore assets of Myanmar and onshore assets of Zotica. We faced several problems, but Mogi said to PTTP, you need to train your local force. So what PTTP did, they don't train welders, they train operators for platform to process oil and gas. Topside facility, it's very complex. So they set up an agreement with a local company here. They created a mock-up of topsides processing platform of Zotica, a mock-up on a smaller scale in Yangon in a training facility. And they set up programs, 10 months and 18 months, short and long program, only for Myanmar nationals to be trained. And having a succession plan from foreign employee in Myanmar, transfer of technology of experience to local employees through practical job, OJT, on-job training, and academic practical training in this facility. Everything went well. The project was about $1 million. But it's a long-term investment. We talk about more than 10 to 15 years, okay? So it's on a budget, it's not that much. A lot of Burmese attended the courses, the practical training, while also working offshore. But what happened? What do you think happened? Anybody have an idea? A lot of guys had a very good training. They worked for 3 months and they run away to the competition. PTTP trained the staff of the competitor for free. That's one of the issues you will face. And you cannot retain, you have no way you can retain or oppose yourself to that. Well, we laugh about it now, but I tell you, they don't laugh about it. Mandatory minimum requirement of hiring local labor force. First year of operation, 25%. That's the MIL, is still in there, 2016. Second year, 50%. Third year of operation, 75%. No, I tell you, nobody respects that. Nobody's respect that. It's impossible. It's not on purpose, they can't. You are a major operator, you hire 800, 1,000 people. That means you will need 750 people, Burmese. You can't. Maybe on this, remember, soft skills, yes, you can. Procurement, buyer, contract, marketing, you can. But technical people, which is your main core base employees, you won't be able to do that. So you have to play with the rules of and regulations of the PSCs. It's complicated. All unskilled work, we say that must be undertaken by the local workforce. And I was mentioning that a bit earlier, but what is good with Myanmar, because they know FDI must be promoted, must be called more and more into the country to develop, support the human development of the country. There is no anti-discrimination. That means, okay, we can hire foreigners, but respect the rules as much as we can. All right? If you have, it's on a, my experience is that in Myanmar, still, it's on the goodwill of everybody. You don't have to, but if it's too obvious, you don't follow the rules, then you will be caught. But if you show goodwill, yeah, I'm hiring expat, but I will plan that in the next 2 years, I will have local workforce. Then, yeah, we don't have, like in Thailand, for example, the immigration department, the labor department, and the revenue department all linked together for one work permit application. Here in Myanmar, no. They all work their own way, they don't even talk to each other. It's easy to, excuse me to say, to screw around. But if you are a responsible, socially responsible company, which I suggest to everybody to do as a foreign investor, just pay your tax, pay the social security, be open. You have your own business interest, but also contribute to the country development. It's very important. Translation. We are near the end. Don't sleep now, please. Practically, case study, oil and gas. What are the translation from my point of view as a contractor? The end user partner with Mogi. Me, I'm a contractor, technical manpower. I provide operations and maintenance services, offshore or onshore. I receive a contract from the operator. There is a mandatory rules to set up in the contracts a clause related to local content for goods and services, but also for labor. For example, Myanmar, ENI Myanmar, Italian operator. It's called, the main contract is provision of manpower services on call-off basis. How they do write that? Contractor shall comply with and shall ensure its subcontractors. I'm the contractor. My subcontractors are my employees. We comply with applicable law, included but not limited to that relating to social security, national insurance remuneration provisions, and the terms and conditions connected to national and territorial collective labor agreement in force in the sector and the area where. So it's a very large clause. It can fit anywhere in the world. But here in this perspective, it means labor, local content. All right? Total EP Myanmar, general conditions for petroleum and general services. What do they say? Local employment, that's the title of the clause. Training and recruitment, you have all in one. They say, well, guys, you work with us, you respect local employment, training, and recruitment. What does it say? Such plans shall be designed in a manner ensuring that the hiring of local force will comply with applicable laws. For example, develop the employment of local workers, in particular those pertaining to the local community. If I work, for example, in Taketa, I will not use Yangon people to come. I will use Taketa people, especially to do unskilled workforce needs. Develop training actions to enhance skills and local workers, particularly regarding HSE materials for safety. Bashnef, now Rosneft. International contract for supervision of field seismic acquisition, onshore. Personnel. The contractor shall maintain at all times the minimum personnel necessary to perform the work, if requested by the company or proposed owner, and approved by the company. The contractor shall assign to the work the optional personnel. Its permanent staff in the performance work, the contractor shall give preference to Myanmar national. So if you're a contractor and you have a very specific job to do, and you're like, okay, I have this contract, field acquisition, but I got no guys available in Myanmar to do that job. And especially in this case, they say, he has to speak English. The guy doesn't even know how to read English. The oil and gas industry in Burma has been in the country for a long time. Some people say for more than 1,000 years. They were digging oil with their hand from trenches. But it's really becoming an industry of the British at the end of the 19th century. Basically, Myanmar was one of the first oil companies, and BP was born here to produce oil. So there is a knowledge. Mogi has knowledge, but it's not up to date. So when we talk about onshore field seismic acquisition, sometimes people are not up to date. DOENP Shwe offshore project, so offshore platform, gas. Provision of general services, so not necessarily manpower. Myanmar content, that's the title of the clause in our contract. It's a DU policy requirement that all suppliers and contractors to the work will, wherever possible and practicable, utilize and or incorporate the use of Myanmar-produced goods and services required for the work. Tenderer shall identify the intended Myanmar content of the work. That means, in this case, labor content. How we can monitor that? That's an example. Really, how we monitor. I give you a tool here, how to monitor your local content. You could set up this type of table. Instead of goods and services, or goods purchasing, or services purchasing, you could have your personal here. I suggest that, for example, you have a maximum of position that can be filled by Myanmar nationals. You have a contract value, all right? So it's a contract, so you're not on the HR position, you have an HR budget for the following year. Look at it from the project point of view. And you say, okay, I have that goods, services, and then employment of local labor content. Let's say you are in the second year of operation, your target is 50%. you assign specific department in volume to match this. Remember, 100% of the local, unskilled local force should be Burmese. But whenever you train a driver, it becomes skilled. So I give you tools now, if you're involved in that type of business, how you can play with the rules. Okay? Based on the contract value, you can say to your partner, Mogi, we talk about here, the oil and gas business. Huh? That's my value dedicated, my project value dedicated to local resources, Myanmar content. This is how I do it. All right? Okay? Now, training, as I was mentioning, you will find a lot of painters with low qualification in Myanmar. What you will have to do is not to send him to a school or a $1 million facility. What you need is on-job training. And you can do it if you give yourself a little bit of resources. For example, Mr. Zhao, everybody know him. He's a painter. When we say painter in our business, it's someone who work on fabrication yard, or doing workshop work, or renovation works, and they are involved in the painting, blasting, coating phase for metallic structure. He will be the person doing the labor work. It's a blue collar. But this guy, in a few months, we can bring him to a painting foreman, from unskilled or very low skills to highly skilled in his field of painting. We can give him an in-house training in your organization. What is oil and gas? What do you do every day? What does it actually apply for? Fire awareness, that's safety training. Emergency first aid, all of this can be done in-house. Risk assessment, in-house. Manual handling, in-house. Permit control to work, in-house. Those are international standards that you can apply in-house. Huh? Working at heights. So working at heights, and you work on a scaffolding. Okay? Confined space and vessel entry. So when you work on a fabrication yard, sometimes you have to do the painting inside very confined metallic structure. You work on a platform, you can be in a vessel, what will be the high pressure vessel actually, where you can be inside. You have to code the inside. So it's very specific training, very important, but easy to provide that training. Very quick. So from being a single unskilled painter, he can become a foreman. Or that person is spraying paint on a coating phase for a beam, metallic beam. The problem from bringing unskilled to skilled workforce, you don't know how many years it will take you. The example I just gave you, it gives you tools to help your local unskilled workforce in the frame of bringing up your local labor content to be higher. From painter, rig painter, painting foreman, maybe one day, he can be an inspector. We were talking about painting foreman. In few weeks, few months of intensive training on job, he can become that. But an inspector, he needs specific training, specific certifications that you cannot give in-house, but you will probably have to send that person overseas. Okay? How many years, you don't know. So that's your workforce availability on your projects. That's your main problem. Yeah, I have local labor content regulations, but how can I manage that on a 1, 2, 3 years project I have to deliver? That's the last slide. My recommendation. So a lot of what Laura said earlier is very, we complete each other actually. Because whatever you work on a project, highly technical, oil and gas, or telecom, or infrastructure, whenever we talk about HR challenges, is the same. You're an engineer or secretary, is the same. What is important? You as an employer, looking at the labor, local content rules. First, your resources. You need to identify. I'm talking about on the project base. Identify your needs and where to get the resources to supply those needs. Yourself, you were mentioning on platform, job, Facebook, LinkedIn, job portals, exhibition, university, It's okay because it it corresponds, it's related to your needs at the moment. You have time, you provide a course, traineeship program, correct? But as professional, when you come and have to deliver a project, we don't have time for that. So you need a very strong planning of resources. Next step is budget. Minimum wages, the cost of training that you need to plan. Also you were mentioning about recruitment agencies. That's a cost for you. The hours you spend yourself on sourcing, it's also a cost for your employer, but when you use an agency that also sometimes don't understand what you do, and they send you irrelevant CVs, and you spend more time telling them, you do not understand, and they tell you, please send me the job description. I say, you professional, you should know. Yeah. You all face that if you were using recruitment agencies. And it's a problem you don't face only in Myanmar, it's everywhere. Planning, very important. You plan your resource, you plan your budget, but also it's a key when you have to plan, let's say, give yourself a 3-year plan. Not only following the 25, 50, 75% rules, but try to, based on your skill development of your planned workforce, which people you think you can train within a short time frame and bring them up. Implement. Implement, it means you have a plan, try to stick to it. All right? Adapt to the new rules and regulation, your client needs, but always be prepared with a contingency plan. If I need an extra, you work in a manufacturing business, your clients give you an extra order, you need to hire 300 more people. Let's say unskilled to blue collars, mid-level, skilled mid-level. How do? You need to prepare for that as well. Monitoring, well, I showed you earlier an example how to monitor. It's one of many tools you can use to monitor. But here, the recommendation is set up your own processes, your own control tools. Your HR department is one of it, very important. You mentioned about how HR people should be able to cope with the business itself, business acumen. Actually, me, as a professional, a contractor, what I face with HR people everywhere, not only in Asia, they do not understand the business. Probably they don't want to understand because they're already very busy. Their boss is like hammering their head, please find me this CV. Yes, boss, but you can't find. So me, when I come, I talk to the engineering manager, the project directors, because I'm on the technical side. But at the end of the day, if I win a contract of services, a lump sum contract, I will have to do a large part of the HR guy do. In addition to my equipment, my consumables, etc., I will have to do it. Monitor. Retain. Obviously, retain. You have no way today to be sure an employee that you have hired, trained, and promote will stay with you. So rules for everybody. How you can retain. You mentioned about flexibility. You mentioned about reward, compensation, planning, etc. It will work or may not work. All right? You're never sure. So what you need to do is always come back to those previous elements. Plan your resources, your budget, implement and monitor. Always have a contingency plan. Adapt, because the market, the labor market is always changing. Now you have the influence of the, I would say, the internet, just to summarize. People can find jobs very easily. You say they don't read the newspaper. It's true, nobody is. Me, I read the newspaper on my tablet. All right? If I want to go for, well, I use those tools to promote my position I open for my project. But I know how to reach them now. LinkedIn, very easy. The job portals, they don't want to go there because they waste a lot of time. I have to upload my CV, I have to fill up the required mention about my age, my education. They don't want to waste time. Now what you have to do is to find the software that will suck your CVs in and do the job for you. And this, it can apply to 100 positions in a day. Before, imagine 10 years ago, you had to write your own, would you say that? I forgot about it actually. Motivation letter. Who here write a motivation letter when they were looking for a job? Be honest. Raise your hand. Yeah, I see. Nobody's write a motivation letter anymore. Because what? The market is fast today. Especially in emerging market like Myanmar, you can find job easily. I think the unemployment rate here, officially as per the ADB statistics, is like less than 5%, but I'm not even sure it's true because, like in every Asian countries, there is no culture of job unemployment. No, nobody is unemployed really. You never stay home doing nothing. You have a shop house on the main street, you open a noodle shop. You were an executive in a marketing company before, you lost your job, now actually don't lose the job, you say, I want to take a rest. And you sell your noodles for a year or two, you help your mom, your dad, you go home, take care of the family business, it could be a grocery shop or it could be a petrol station, whatever. There is no jobless people here in Asia. So, to conclude, there is challenges from our point of view as foreign investors in major project or any type of project that where you need to plan labor local content as per the regulation, as per the rules I mentioned earlier. Always plan your resources, always implement the rules and regulation, always monitor, and always try to plan for the worst so you prepare. I'm talking from the contractor point of view. All right? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcel. It was very interesting. I'm just asking all of you for 2 minutes of patience because, as I told you, this seminar is concluding our HR training. And I would like to call some of our students to give them the certificates, and I count on you to applaud them because they were excellent students. So please, Wing A2. Is Wing A2 here? Yes? Thank you. That we have the customer services training starting this Saturday, so if you are interested, you can still register by contacting Pascaline. Thank you very much for coming this morning. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll keep in touch with you to inform you of the next seminar, and I wish you to have a good day. Thank you.